So we're joined from beautiful Sarasota, Florida, by my friend Shawny Robey, CEO of Lightshare Wellness there in Sarasota. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in
That's
Madison
right.
County Schools: Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. We're in the management and entrepreneurship career cluster. Um, and we are so grateful to have you with us today.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me back. This is one of my very favorite things to do. So I'm so honored that you would have me. So
Well,
thanks.
and the honor's all on this side of the camera. Now, we obviously want to talk about what you do running a large facility as a CEO. But just take
Yeah.
us back to the beginning. Madison Central, class of 98, the very
Yeah.
successful class of 98, I might add. We've had several of your classmates on this platform. But you made history while you were at Madison Central, and how appropriate during Black History Month to celebrate the fact you were the first tennis champion, first black tennis
Yes.
champion in
Yes.
Mississippi history. And this was before Venus and Serena. This was before Coco Gauff, before Sloane Stevens. You were making headlines and made it was a very big deal. You had all the TV at the school when you signed with Southern Miss to be a tennis star.
I did. It was a really interesting time. So playing at Madison Central was such a great time in my life. I remember I was fortunate to be able to win every state championship for all 4 years. So that was exciting. And that kind of opened the doors for me to be able to go to Southern Miss. And yes, they hadn't recruited or had any Black tennis players ever in the history of Southern Miss prior to me going there. So I was definitely the first Black tennis scholarship athlete to play. And then I also was fortunate enough to receive a full scholarship after that to complete my first master's degree after that. So that was really great.
Yeah, and we'll talk about your college experience here in a second because I got some
Yeah.
athletes in here. But before you got to college, you were also
Yes.
very diverse in high school. You made it a point to be involved in several things because tennis took up a lot of your time. Because
Yeah.
you were a great student, you were a great musician, and people don't believe that you used to eat lunch with me every day, and we had some very deep conversations. And I always say that's why when you get to know people, it makes you more diverse. And
Definitely.
people look at us and think we might not have anything in common, but we used to have some very deep conversations about a lot of things. And just talk about not necessarily me, but how being diverse in high school, being, reaching out and networking as a teenager and being well versed in high school prepared you for that step going to college.
Yes. Well, first off, you've been one of my nearest, dearest friends, and I am so privileged and honored to even have known you as long as I have.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
But to your point, um, with being in high school, it's one of those times where you can really explore. And so I tried to take advantage of exploring, doing different things, being in the choir, being in different clubs. And then because of those experiences, I was able to meet people like you and other folks that I just would not have had the opportunity to meet before. And you just don't know where your life is going to lead you later on beyond high school and college and your professional career. And it's so important to learn that skill now to just diversify yourself, step outside of your comfort zone, talk to people you don't normally talk to. Um, Enter groups that you wouldn't normally enter in because number one, you find out a lot about yourself instead of keeping yourself in a box, but you also find out so much more about different people, and it will help you understand the common threads that bind other people together and realize that we are much more similar than we are different. And then we learn to appreciate each other's differences and not sort of fight against those differences. It allows us to have a different perspective and point of view of the world. It allows us to even open ourselves to opportunities, whether it's career paths or just interests that we just wouldn't have if we not didn't expose ourselves to other things. So I'm grateful for my experiences because people like you and other folks who I've met along the way, I wouldn't have had I not branched out into other areas.
Awesome. Now, I have a few athletes in here that had the dreams
Yeah.
of playing college sports. But I think you can give a great insight as someone that was a Division I full scholarship athlete, but also having the rigorous demands of academics in college. It is a
Yeah.
time where you have to learn to manage time. because you can't just not show up because you don't feel like it. You're traveling very long distances for some games, and you are on a strict schedule because the university has invested money for you to be there. Whether you're playing junior college or whether you're playing Division One, at the end of the day, you have a commitment. So talk about that commitment of college athletics that I think greatly differs from the commitments of athletics in high school.
Oh, definitely. So, on one hand, in high school, you have, I just can remember, and many of the athletes that are in your classes and things will can kind of attest to the fact that, it seems so busy. You're in class all day, you're in practice all evening, you have homework to do, but largely someone else is still taking care of you. So, fortunately, you have your family or your loved ones taking care of you at home. They're still, for the most part, paying a lot of the bills, and so you don't have a lot of those other stresses. However, the schedule becomes much more rigorous, and it becomes more about being on you when you get to college. So in high school, you have your college coaches your high school coaches pushing you, your teachers pushing you. People kind of make some concessions and allowances for you in high school because you're a great athlete. When you get to college, you're on your own. So when you're an athlete, definitely things are going to be a bit smoother, especially when you're a college athlete, things will be a little bit smoother. At the same time, though, it is really self-driven. You have to, when you have weights at 4 o'clock in the morning, but and you decided to make different choices the night before, you still have to be in the weight room at 4 o'clock in the morning. You still have to be in class at 8 o'clock in the morning. You still have to go over to practice in the afternoon. You still have to get your work done. And it's not like high school where you have a assignment that's due, it's given to you on Tuesday and it's due on Thursday. These are long-term assignments that maybe are, weeks or months long of research and things. So you do have to stay incredibly disciplined when you get to college. So it's really best to start those practices now and be as disciplined as you can. Try to be as self-directed as you can. I know, even just a matter of getting up on your own instead of mom or dad getting you up in the morning, set your own alarm, get up, be where you need to be, not only be there on time, but be there early. And especially when you're a college athlete, there's other people gunning for your spot. Your scholarship isn't guaranteed for all the years you're in college. The scholarship is for the year that you're there, 1 year.
Yep.
So you really do need to make sure that you are competitive. You're keeping up with someone else who wants to be where you are. So when it's off season, you're still working out. In the summer, you're still working out. You're doing the things that need to be done. If your grades slip, you won't be playing anyway. So it's definitely something where you have to be very self-driven and directed. And I guess I'll say another thing. In high school, you have a lot of friends and you can go places, but it's still a little more limited. When you get to college, you're an adult. So you make a lot of those decisions. So you really do need to be careful and mindful about who your friends are, of who you surround yourself with, which kind of goes back to our earlier conversation around diversity and who you hang out with and who you know, because the right people will keep you on track.
Yeah, and I know I tell this one all the time, but I'll never forget. And when we were at Southern Miss, the football team had played at UAB on Thursday night on ESPN. So they got back 2 in the morning. And I stayed up and watched the game. It was a big win. And then at 8 a.m. the next morning, I'm walking to class and I see our friend Marvin Young, who had scored a touchdown in the game. I'm like, really? He goes, man, I got a test. I couldn't miss it. So
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what you did.
No,
These professors are going to hold you to a standard. And like you said, the scholarships are not guaranteed. NIL, which was before our time, um,
definitely.
or, 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 or after our time,
After a time, yeah,
is not guaranteed. So if you get thrown
right.
off the team for grades, that NIL money will stop. So
Yes.
that's just something to remember. Now, obviously, all this led to you becoming a CEO of Lightshare Wellness there in
Yeah.
Sarasota, Florida, which deals with addiction and rehab and counseling there in the South Florida area. And I think it's interesting because people think of something like that and they just think nurses and counselors,
Mhm.
and people in health science careers, which obviously y'all do have, but there's a business side of it, and that's what you're getting ready to do there with the city. So CEOs, they manage money, they manage people, they manage buildings, they manage policies. So it really is a space where it's not necessarily I'm the one taking care of the
Mhm.
medications. I'm the one
Right.
managing the business of it. So
That's
talk
right.
about that MBA and how
Yeah.
that transferred into you being a CEO.
Definitely. So one of those things, and it's going to go back to what you talked about earlier, Greg, in terms of diversifying yourself. You don't know what you might want to get into until you start placing yourselves in different areas surrounded by different people. So I got into healthcare right after college. I had a business degree, and I also had a master's in communication. So I thought I'm going to do marketing and public relations, which was great. But then I started getting very interested in doing operations and just learning another side of the business. So in order for me, and just like, going back to being an athlete, I have to stay competitive. So I looked at the people in the industry around me who were doing the things I wanted to do, and I realized most people have an MBA. So I went back to school and I got my master's in business administration. I focused on international business, and I really, really focused in on what I wanted to do, and that's where it led me to management. And but I was very laser focused. I knew I wanted to be a CEO, and part of being a CEO in the healthcare space, and when you think of healthcare, you do think of doctors and nurses and people who are doing the healthcare provision. But it's got to run on the other side. So on the other side of things, that's where I am. I'm on the side of the house where it's not forward facing and you don't really see, but I'm the one at the state capitol, or I'm the one in DC lobbying for money for different healthcare sorts of things. I am the one in the background building the buildings that you go into for your healthcare spaces. So when you go to the emergency room, some CEO had to advocate to build that building and get the permits and get all the licensing done for that place. Someone has to hire all of the right talent. You have to have the right number of staff, the right number of doctors. Somebody has to pay attention to all the rules and regulations because it's not a free for all. So there's a lot of rules and regulations you have to know when you go into a healthcare space. Additionally, there is the revenue side. So when you are, and anybody, whether if you get an MBA and you major in business, you can do so many things with that, but the principles are still kind of the same. You want to make sure that the revenue stream is still moving, whether you're running a hot dog stand or whether you're running a hospital. You want to make sure that your profits are greater than your losses. So the principles still are the same, regardless of whatever you're going to do. So I do think it's very valuable when you're considering what your majors are in the future to think of something that maybe can allow you to do several things.
Yeah, and at the same time, you also have to be able to have the skills to walk in a room and own it. To be able to walk in a room and introduce yourself, to be able to sell what you have, to sell yourself. If you want to run a business, because I have a ton of kids in here that have said, I want to have a job where I make a lot of money. Well, if you want to make a lot of money, you got to prove that you're worth getting that money. You have to walk in a room and
Definitely.
say, look, I may look like this, you may see the color of my skin, you may see my gender, but at the end of the day, you're going to leave here knowing that I'm the best person to get this.
Well, that's a really good point that you make because we all know that we all as people we come with our inherent biases, regardless of how wonderful people we are. We come with our inherent biases. So being a Black woman in a space where there aren't typically women, especially non-Black women, I do have to make sure that I form a lot of strong relationships. I do have to strategically plan how I'm going to deliver messages. It is very important how I come across and my messaging. So I do spend a lot of time with messaging. I'll give you a quick example. I have to give a presentation in front of the city commission because I'm building a $10 million building. And I have to convince all of them that this is a good idea. And it's been about a year and a half of me advocating for this facility. And we're near the end, but it's very important that I remain steadfast, that I maintain my relationships, and also that I have all my ducks in a row. Nobody wants to listen to you when you're scattered, when you lose stuff, when you don't have your facts correct. So make sure, even now, as you're in high school, make sure that when you're delivering messages, that you're clear, you're concise, you have all your facts together, you can anticipate what people are going to ask you before they even do so that you always remain competent.
Yeah, and that's even as simple as I always talk with. Now I got some seniors coming in here later, and I always talk about, when you're in a job interview, it's not hard to practice what they're going to ask you. A lot of the questions are
Mhm.
going to be the same. And that presentation you're about to give, I know you've already rehearsed. Okay, they're going to ask me this. Here's the way I'm going to answer that. So sounding confident, sounding informed. It is amazing how much more professional you'll come across.
Definitely. And even right now, it's important to even in high school, dress the part. So if you have to give a presentation in front of your instructor in class, if you're in college and you have to stand up and do something, make sure that you present yourself in such a way that people take you seriously. Now you do want to stand out and you want people to remember you, but they want to remember you for all the right reasons. So definitely think about ways in which you can stand out, kind of your unique brand. So you want to put your own stamp on something, but definitely in the ways that are positive that people want to walk away with.
Love it. Well, I do have some questions. They've got some really good ones, so I'm gonna get to as many of these as I can.
Okay.
This first one is Kelsey Slaughter. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players here. And she's got kind of a two-part question. She asked, "What's the most tedious part about running the business, and what made you choose to be a Delta Sigma Theta?"
All right, Kelsey. Well, the most tedious part of this job has to be managing people. So I love the work. And any job that you go to, there's going to be people, and everybody comes with a very different personality. So you have to really play into people's personalities and really get a lot of buy in from people in order for people to work for you. I can't do this alone. I have hundreds of staff underneath me who have to do this with me. So I have to make sure that I am catering to their needs as well. Delta was the only way for me to go. I never thought of anything else. I'm a legacy. My mother, my aunts, most everyone in my family is a Delta. My dad is a Q. There was really nothing else that I would have thought of. So I was honored to become a member, but there wouldn't have been any other choice for me.
Yeah, and I know all the NPHC organizations offer different things. Like we said, you were the line sister, Miss Davis, our art teacher here at Velma Jackson.
Definitely.
And look, that's a way to get involved in college. But I always urge students to know, look, everybody sees the strutting and strolling and everything, and that's a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, it's about academics, service, and networking.
It really is. And just to piggyback off of that, when you're in college, of course, it does seem like it's all fun and games. But honestly, for any of the D9 organizations, you have to have the grades. You have to be committed to service. You have to be committed to your community and anyone that you join. And after that, and I've been a member of this organization since 2002, and I still pay my dues and go to conventions and other things. But right now, at this stage of my life, it's really about the giving back. It's about the mentorship. It's about community. And also, it's about social action. So there's a lot of things, ways in which any D9 organization you can get involved with your community. But as you become a little bit older, it becomes more about your service.
Awesome. This is Shania Willis. She's in 10th grade, one of our basketball players here, had the big playoff win last night. And she asked, "How do you motivate yourself to keep going when things get hard? And have you ever felt like giving up?"
Maya, that's a great question, and also congratulations. But yes, so sometimes it is difficult to motivate yourself, especially when people doubt you, right? But it's just like being an athlete. So you go into a space and you're the underdog. Nobody's expecting you to win, but you have to keep pumping yourself up. And sometimes it's just believing your own hype. You just have to keep hyping yourself up and keep hyping even when no one else is. You have to walk in with at least a certain level of confidence in yourself because it's not to say that I've never been unbreakable because I definitely have been. But number one, it's trying to be as strong as I can. But when I'm not strong, it's how quickly can I come back? Because just like if I lost the match or you lose the basketball game or what have you, okay, you lost, you took an L and you're going to take L's. You just are. But how resilient are you? How are you going to come back? And that's really where you find your biggest champions, whether it's in sports or in your career, is how you're going to bounce back. And when you bounce back, you need to be dangerous.
Yeah, and I'll never forget the first. You only lost one match in high school, and the next day at school, it was a controversial loss. And the next day at school, you were crying and crying and crying. And I was like, you realize that you're still going to win the state championship, so you don't need to let some little stupid girl get under your skin. And I don't think you lost a set the rest of the season.
I didn't lose the rest of my high school career.
But that was a perfect example of something so small that at the end of the day really was just a setup for a great accomplishment with the four straight championships. I like this one. This is Donovan Edwards. He's in ninth grade, one of our football players, and he asked, "Do you still play tennis? And was it hard to let go of playing every day?"
So, Donovan, that's a great question. So, I do work a lot, and so because I work, I try to do some things that are fun. So I am able to play tennis a little bit. I will tell you that I ruptured my Achilles or years ago, so I don't play as much. But now I'm getting into golf and some other things. So yes, so tennis, golf, and I also run. So I've started doing half marathons. So I've probably done about 10 half marathons at this point, including the Mississippi Blues half marathon that I run
Wow.
almost every year.
Wow. I got time for two more. This is Jayon Kincaid. He's in 10th grade. And he asked, what has been your biggest motivation to be successful?
Oh wow! Well, thanks for that question, John. My biggest motivation, I will tell you, sometimes you got to find it. Sometimes you have to find it in yourself. So I watch other people and I look at other people, but not in a way that I'm envious at all. But I look at people who are doing bigger things than me and better things than me. And so then I sit back and say, how do I get there? What do I need to do to get there? How do I get even bigger than that? So definitely not in an envious way because you don't want that, but you do need people who motivate you. You need to have mentors too. So if you have a mentor in your life, which if you don't have one, you should find one who is doing the things you want to do. If you are a musician, find a musician who's really successful and then follow those steps. Whatever you want to do, someone has done before. So to do that and do it better and do it your way and do it greater. And that's what keeps you motivated when you keep pushing yourself.
All right, I got one more. This is Aaliyah Clay. She's in ninth grade. And she asked, what has been your biggest challenge you faced in becoming a CEO?
Aaliyah, thank you for that. So I would say probably one of my biggest challenges is probably in facing a lot of the things that are kind of unfortunate that we have to face in our world. Just being a Black woman in a space where people aren't really used to seeing that, especially being a little bit younger in some of the spaces. Um, and sometimes I'm just a different face. So sometimes it's getting past that and it's not for me to get past, but it's in the, comfortability of others and making sure that I am presenting and doing the best that I can. And just kind of like, I'm going to take it back to sports because sports is like life. You can have the best performance of your life and still walk out of there and no one really appreciates what you've done. But you've got to know, like, I worked the hardest I could today. I trained as hard as I could. I played the best that I could. And I'm proud of my performance, and maybe everyone isn't ready to receive you yet. Hey, I'm not for everybody, but at some point you'll be ready to receive me because the performance that I'm going to put on at some point, you'll appreciate what I bring to the table.
Love it. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much again for joining us. And you're about to go in there and rock that presentation.
Thank
But before
you.
we go, again, as we celebrate Black History Month, and as we continue to encourage these kids to make the best decisions, transitioning from high school to their next steps, why is it so important for them to realize just because you've never seen it doesn't mean you can't do it? There had never been a Black tennis champion. There had never been a Black tennis player at Southern Miss. You don't see a lot of Black female CEOs. So just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it can't happen for you. You can be the
Right.
first and you can be the best. So as they
Right.
start making those decisions for their next steps, why do they need to realize that it is so important for them to understand that they can be the first?
You absolutely can. And if there is, you just need to continue to dream. Think of things, watch things, look at how other people are moving in this world, even if they don't look like you, and just understand that that is possible for you. Whatever it is that you think of and dream of, you just have to keep motivated and keep dreaming and keep dreaming and keep dreaming. And then if not you, it's going to be someone else. So why not you? Why not? So if you just keep asking yourself, well, why shouldn't I be? And tell yourself, I deserve to be. I belong in this space.
Love it. Well, again, it's always a pleasure. I know you're about to go in there and kill that presentation, and it's always
Thank
such an honor
you.
to have such a great guest with us. But again, all the way from Sarasota, Florida, the CEO of Lightshare Wellness, my friend, Shawny Robey. We thank you so
Thank
much for
you
joining.
so much. All righty.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.